Like, what is breakfast? Breakfast is where you break that fast.
Yeah.
And because, when you're fasting, as long as it's for a short period of time, there's a lot of studies, but you're burning this fat. And so when you do intermittent fasting, you're extending that window. And so you're going 16 hours without eating if you do it properly. And in those last few hours of those 16 hours, there's so much fat is being burned that it allows you to be kind of, sloppy, if you will, when it comes to your tracking your macros. And so that's what I did. I've done it a couple times where I would do intermittent fasting. And during that time period, I'm just making sure that I'm getting a good amount of protein, getting a good amount of carbs, and getting some fats. But never have I actually, added up my calories and kept track and making sure that I was getting the numbers in. But intermittent fasting for me did wonders. It was very, and it's for me is easy because you don't have to do all the tracking. So yeah, so little tips that I do to help me stay on top of a clean lifestyle are 3 days a week, push pull legs, and then intermittent fasting.
That's good, and it's really funny because we didn't talk about this beforehand, and like he said, like Garrett said, he's not a doctor or a fitness trainer, so consult your doctor before doing any major changes. But my wife and I had just started doing the intermittent fasting thing like 3 weeks ago, like just started.
Okay.
And so I'm doing it consistently. Well, we both are, but like, you talked about you starting and stopping it, but I really like it for that reason. You kind of don't have to think so much about it. And like it does take a little getting used to, but it's, I eat during this time and I don't eat during this time, and you try to eat relatively healthy during the time you're eating.
Exactly.
For those of us who are on the lower end of things, but I found it really good. So for those of you who are interested in something more geared towards losing fat, right? It's not really necessarily geared towards gaining muscle.
Right. A lot of times, it's mostly for losing fat, but people trying to build muscle, it helps them be lean, so while
Sure.
It helps them build that good pure muscle while burning that excess fat.
And I like also what you said about kind of, fitting in, like, first of all, fitting in your schedule with the 3 days a week, but also just doing what you can. Because I know, again, you talked about you being busy, and again, you being on the younger side. Those of us who are a little bit older, I know if we take that advice to heart about just changing what we can, you don't have to make drastic changes all at once.
Right.
You don't
Absolutely.
have to, you don't have to jump right into going to the gym and whatever, but like just make some small changes. And that's definitely really helpful. And so then the fasting thing I like, because it leads us sort of into like the spiritual side of things.
Right.
Can you talk first of all a little bit about the spiritual benefits of fasting, and then maybe like the spiritual side of 5110 and living clean in general?
Sure. Spiritual side of fasting. It's definitely a deep topic.
Sure.
There's a lot that goes into that. I took a prayer and fasting class in college, read E.M. Bound's book on prayer and fasting, and it's very good. And you think about prayer and fasting. One thing my Bible college president and pastor of the church that I attended while in college, he would say all the time that fasting is not twisting God's arm. And, sometimes I think, we as humans will fast and be like, God, I'm fasting. Why aren't you doing what it is that I want? And that's just not what fasting is. And so many times fasting is for one, it does show your seriousness. It lets God know, like, God, I am so serious right now. I am going without food because I want your attention. And of course you already had it, but you're proving it to God. Sometimes in the Bible, it says, prove me now. And you're proving to God, like, I'm serious. I want this. And other things that when you're without food, you'll tend to be emotional. When you don't have food, you're like, I'm hangry, like I need food. Yeah. And when you start feeling all weird types of emotional ways because you're not getting your normal calories, you need it, especially if it's for spiritual reasons, but in general, take it to God. And, I've heard some people say that, as much as you want food right now, God wants a relationship with you like a million times more than that, an infinite amount more than that.
Yeah.
And we need to understand that our sustenance and everything we need in life needs to come from God, and we need to fully rely on God. And so many things about fasting aren't necessarily, in my opinion, in my life, aren't necessarily about asking, and it is about asking, but at the core of it, it needs to be about having a closer relationship with God and having a closer walk with God, and just pushing food aside, saying that's not my necessary meat. God, you need to be my necessary meat. And it's definitely, that can be a deep topic.
It can. I like though what you like. It kind of fits in what Clean 5110 is all about. That taking the focus off of us and ourselves and putting it on God. Like even if you're not necessarily asking Him for something, you're still just trying to put focus back on Him.
Right. Yes, sir.
That's really good. So for someone who's trying to, like, again, going back to like the physical cleanness, if someone who's trying to maybe get in shape or learn some things, are there any particular like resources that you have or that you would recommend, some places that you found for good information? Maybe you wouldn't endorse all of it, but like, yeah, I really like this website for workouts, or I really like this,
right,
this diet plan, stuff like that.
Yeah. Clean 5110, we tried so many times to get our own material. The guy that was my roommate in college, Fred, we've reached out to him. We had a little partnership because he was thinking about becoming an online coach and doing some stuff, and it never actually, went into action. But we've tried. But for me, it's some of the things that when I started learning, man, I was all over YouTube. And of course, to just reference, YouTube is broad, and you have to be careful because you can hear good and bad things on YouTube. Right. And I can't think of the YouTuber's name on the top of my head, but I had a couple that I would go to, and I watched those. I'd be in college, sophomore and junior in college. I'd be laying in my bed at night, getting home from work at 11:30, 12, doing my homework till late at night, and then I'm laying in bed watching these videos while I fall asleep. Just trying to figure out, making sure I have the proper form and make sure I'm doing the right exercises. And there's a lot of experimenting, to be honest. You have to get in the gym and you have to listen, to some sources, but at the same time, like, what feels right? Like, do I feel the burn? Do I feel the pull? Do I feel the proper soreness afterwards? As far as like, I can tell the muscle is repairing and getting stronger.
Yeah.
And there's just a lot that goes into that, where you can hear a lot of opinions, whether they're licensed or unlicensed. And it doesn't necessarily matter, even if it's from a licensed person. Everybody's different. Literally every body is different. And you have to figure out what works for you.
Yeah, I like that, because again, like there are so many different voices, and like, you need to do this, and like, no, you need to do this, and like you said, everybody's got an opinion, and I know that I eventually found something that worked for me, and but I did go through a couple different things, and I'm still even evolving now. That I had a lot of input, and then I just had to stop and figure out, okay, this is what's working for me, this is what's not, and this many days a week I'm working out, and then I'm also doing this, and it does. You said experimentation, and I think that's 100% accurate.
Right. Yes, sir. So
regarding your brand, first of all, where can people find you online?
We are clean5110.com. We also have an Instagram, clean.5110. That's our main marketing. We're on Facebook. Haven't gone to Twitter yet, but our website is clean5110.com, and then Instagram, clean.5110.
Okay. And then if people want to reach out and be a brand, they can find you, or be a brand ambassador, they can find it on those sites?
Yeah, they can. Right on our website, they can go to the website, clean5110.com, then go to About, and then go to the ambassador page. And at the ambassador page, we'll have a few of our main ambassadors, or just some of the recent ones featured there. And they can scroll down to the bottom, and they'll see an application. And it's not much. It's just, do you agree with the above terms, which, some of the things we talked about, and then their desired codes and an Instagram username.
So I don't know if you can talk about this at all or not, but like, can you tell us like anything about what the next big thing might be for Clean 5110?
Oh, that's tough because
I don't know if that's top secret or like, or things that haven't developed yet.
So I will always have a lot of dreams, and my dream for a long time is I want to be a gym owner, and of course it would have a clean 5110 aspect where there's going to be, we're going to take a stand. There's things like modesty will be encouraged, and there's a lot that would go into that. But as far as long term, long term, one of these days, yes, Clean 5110 gym. But for now, we're going to continue to have new products. Right now with coronavirus, our shipments are delayed and
Sure.
new launches are delayed. And we had just started getting a new program rolling, which I don't really want to announce right now, but because especially since it's not going through. But with that rolling, we were expecting to start seeing some of that happen, and it's not happening, So right now,
Yeah, definitely.
like right here in the middle of the pandemic, it's kind of hard to say, like, short-term, mid-term goals and what's going to happen. But long-term, you definitely, I've had people donate equipment, and I have a lot of my own equipment. I'd love to just find a space and start small. And, that as soon as I get a space, I could start, in a week, and I could start in 10 years, whenever I find a place.
Sure. I totally get that. Well, Garrett, I appreciate you taking some time to talk to us and give us first of all, some physical tips, but then some encouragement to live clean as a Christian. And I know I'll encourage folks to stop by and check out what you're all about. And again, I appreciate you taking your time to talk to us this morning.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. It was a pleasure.
I really enjoyed the chance to talk to Garrett, and I know I'll take a couple things away from our conversation. First, that I shouldn't have any excuses for being a good steward of my body, our temple. That no matter what it is, bodily exercise, yes, profiteth little, but it doesn't profit nothing. We should take care of what God has given us. If I lose my strength, I cannot serve God the way that I know I'm supposed to. I know we just had a conversation recently with Pastor Tom Bish, an amputee who finds a way to is now relearning to walk with a new prosthesis, but before that was running races and finding a way to stay in shape to be able to minister to his congregation the way he knew that he was called to do. And I know that as a dad, I want to be able to keep up with my kids. And as someone who works in the church, I want to be able to give as much of myself to the people of the church and to God as I possibly can. And of course, again, to my wife and kids. And so I was challenged to do whatever I need to do to not have excuses to be clean physically. Garrett talked about his particular things that he does, working out 3 days a week or intermittent fasting. I don't know what it is for you, but do some experimentation, do some research, contact somebody, and find a way to be clean physically. And then, of course, being clean spiritually, that the challenge from Psalm 51:10 about having a clean heart created by God, and that going back to the Bible for that cleanness, that I can't depend on myself. As good as it is to have good intentions, the cleanliness comes from the Word of God, and just the challenge to be more, first of all, in the Bible, but then to be around folks who I know will kind of help me stay clean and encourage me to live that way. So again, I just really enjoyed that conversation, and I hope you were challenged by it as well. And now on to our special announcement, which is that Clean 5110 and Shepherds and Kings are now partners. Clean 5110 is now the official sponsor of the show, and we're super happy that they're willing to partner with us, and we're looking forward to what the future might hold for the partnership, and maybe to be able to announce some things for you guys. But in the meantime, if you head over to the website and use the word shepherd at checkout, you can get 10% off of any purchase. And so we're really happy that they were willing to do that for us. And please take advantage of that. Please show them some love and support on social media. You can find us, of course, on social media as well, on Facebook and on Instagram. And please, if you have any feedback, thoughts, questions, topics you want to hear talked about, or guests maybe you'd like to see on the show, hit us up there. And then please subscribe on any podcast player you're using, as well as go to Apple Podcasts and give us a rating and review. And more than anything, please tell someone about the show. I've already had a lot of you say, hey, I passed this on to my brother or to whoever, and because it was a challenge to me. And I appreciate you hearing that. Let's keep doing that. And in the meantime, be the best shepherd or king that God has called you to be. We'll see you later.